Hello. Okay. Welcome to another episode of Rimshot Ramblings, everyone. We have a special guest here today, John Rogers, and he is a man of many mysteries and a legend as well. And today we're just going to ramble on, I think, and talk about what you've seen.
What I've seen, yes.
And you've seen a lot.
Yes, some of it good.
What's bad?
I was thinking on the way down that I first started doing gigs and the gig rate was £4, the MU casual gig rate at that point. That was late 60s. And
now it's £4.50.
And I was an apprentice engineer at the time, and I was earning something like £6, well, not exactly £6, 5 and 8 pence was my top line. So you can understand why doing a couple of gigs at the weekend was a good idea.
And now?
Well, now they've all heard me, so I don't get so much work now. But it was different then. There was no internet. You had to learn by going to see people play. And nowadays, when you look at the likes of what we can watch on, YouTube and everything, it's just
like you now.
I'd probably have
YouTube.
packed up. I'd probably have given up before.
It's I think the world's become a lot more. It's like on steroids, isn't it?
Well, when you look at the standard of the players that I see nowadays, and we were talking about the Shanghai show, there was a 14-year-old girl out there that, could have held down a top job around here, It's just, it is on steroids. That's a very good way to put it. It's exactly like that.
Everything's on steroids now, and it's everything, and everything is very much. There is no long-term longevity anymore, and it's all about the you're once in and you're out, then the next in, then you're out. It's all about. It's a circus, isn't it?
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, that is pretty accurate, isn't it?
It's like a circus.
Wasn't it Andy Warhol said you got 15 minutes, in the sun? Well, it's about 5 minutes now, probably.
Well, with global warming, definitely, it's only 5 minutes in the sun, not 15.
But casual gigs, 60s and 70s, were a lot easier to come across than subsequently.
Do you think musicians and drummers were a lot happier in the 60s and 70s compared to now? Well, and would they? And they had less. Isn't there a saying that? What is it called when you know less? It's
ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss.
I think there's an awful lot going back. I mean, I used to go and see Buddy Rich when he brought his band over. So it's only sort of 2 days a year you were humiliated. The rest of the time you could fake it, pretend you knew what you were doing. But of course you can't now. It's all a lot more transparent.
Well, it's to do with all this digital media. But were they happy? Were they happier back then? I
think they were, yeah.
Was there a lot more? Was there a bigger community spirit back then?
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, you always looked after your gig, and if you had to put a dep in, you made sure you put somebody in who wasn't quite up to your level,
Oh, that's the Japanese way of doing things, isn't it?
I don't know. It used to work in my circle of drummers.
I used to do a lot of productions for Japan, and a big producer told me, a famous producer told me, Bence, the idea is do not make it perfect because otherwise you'll get less work. And if you make it too perfect, they'll always want you to be on that level.
Yeah. I suppose people like Phil Seaman worked that for many years. Bless him.
Bless him. So, yeah, we could go into that topic anyway. Yeah, I mean, Phil Seaman. I mean, look, he's crazy. He's locked up now, isn't he?
I don't think he's any longer with us, is he?
He's locked up then.
No,
He's locked up 6 feet under.
As Ronnie Scott used to say, he's no longer with us. In fact, he's no longer with anyone.
Did you know Ronnie quite well? Did you know?
Well, no. I knew him. He didn't know me.
Okay, everyone, yeah, he was a quiet character, apparently.
He was a great raconteur. Probably a better raconteur than sax. No, he was a good sax player. But he was one of the characters of the industry, certainly.
And what do you think of the so-called industry today?
Well, I'm glad I'm not 25 and trying to earn a living, because I'd starve to death, I know that, compared to, as I say, our mutual friend Gavin and people like this that are just, their techniques are just so phenomenal that I just think I wouldn't have kept playing. If Buddy had come over, 5 or 6 times a year, I'd have probably sold the kit a long time before.
Well, yeah, but getting starved from gigging nowadays may be good for the obesity report in America. There'll be less obese musicians.
Well, maybe.
So
I don't know where I fit with that.
But
thanks for bringing that up.
But you might be 200 grand under, no, from the university tuition fees.
Well, yes, I know all about university tuition fees, having 4 kids. But anyway, the thing about it now, I'm not sure it's better or worse, but you asked if people were happier, and I think your point about ignorance being bliss was probably true. If you wanted to go and learn a bit more, you'd have to go and see somebody playing live, because you couldn't find it anywhere else.
Or a record.
Or play along to the radio like we all used to do, drive your mum mad, But that was high tech then.
Well, so when you were practicing, you didn't have a choice of what music you could play. You had to put the radio on, and the tune that comes in is the tune you have to play.
You're in, yeah, or not.
That's quite a good motto then, isn't it?
Well, who was it? Recently I was listening to on a podcast was saying that a lot of people said you shouldn't play in covers bands, but if you do play in covers bands, you have to learn to do a lot of things, or make a fist of a lot of things.
I personally think, being a musician now, the people that don't do it for a career are actually happier than the ones who do it for a career. And they get to the zone of what it's all about quicker than the others.
Yeah. Well, I do a regular Sunday jam at the local arts centre, and I'm one of the younger ones there, so it's quite funny, but I don't think anybody's worrying too much about, if they can play it the same as Buddy played it or whatever. They're just going, drinking some beer and having fun, and for me it's a lot better than schlepping up to Newcastle and then schlepping back in the back of a transit
at 3 a.m.
Yeah, exactly.
Where is where do you, is it the Wickham Swan?
No, Wickham Arts Centre.
The Wickham Arts Centre, in the church. You do every Sunday?
No, it's once a month, last Sunday of every month. I couldn't get away with every Sunday. So.
I'm doing a big band tomorrow. I'm stepping in for a big band.
And is that your usual gig, or
no,
who normally does that?
I don't know who does that, but it's someone I don't really ask questions. But it's quite a well-known big band in that area, and they rehearse in Bracknell area.
No, I think that might be Brian Green, possibly.
It could be, but anyway, the main thing is I'm not looking to nick anyone's gig, but it's just fun, and as everyone's there,
that's what it's supposed to be, isn't it?
And it's not a competition like it is out there at the moment.
No, it's it must be tough now, because at least in the old days, if you got booked to do a gig, you could be halfway through it before they found out you weren't great. Whereas now they can just look up what you do online, can't they?
Well, they already have the anticipation beforehand, the brief. Yeah. Well, but you travel the world a lot because you're involved heavily in, if I can go into it, designing instruments and developing instruments.
Developing, certainly. Yeah.
Especially instruments that are a lot harder to make than drums. I mean, drums you don't need many brain cells to make, but the instruments
to play.
Or to play. God, this hay fever at the moment is killing me. But yeah, I mean, but I would like to know your viewpoints on I don't know how you challenge yourself to be a creative to make a good instrument.
Well, I don't think it's a lot different to what you do now, in as much as I can't play the French horn to the level that I need, well, to any level, to be honest. But I know about listening to people and listening to what they say. It's the same as you with developing some of your products.
So the key is listening to others.
As an old friend of mine always used to say, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, use in direct proportion. I think that's a great maxim, actually. Rather than me trying to tell one of my co-director who's been in the LSO for 40 years what he should be doing with the French horn, I just listen to what he tells me, and then try and interpret that into a new product.
So what makes a good French horn?
Well, nobody knows that. It has to be airtight, the valves have to go round, the lengths have to be right, and the bell has to be right. The most important part is the first, anyway, that's a bit of an old gag, but the lead pipe and the bell are the 2 most important. The lead pipe generates the sound, the bell amplifies the sound. Everything else is switches, really.
Okay. So same like drums.
Just, yeah, exactly the same as drums.
The shell doesn't matter what it is, but the head on top and the bottom, and who's playing it is the most important.
That there is a lot of that. I would agree.
But in essence, it's actually the soul that's the most important.
Yeah, and everybody hears it differently, don't they? It's like those cymbals we were talking about. You'd hear them different to how I heard them, and then the context that they're in. I mean, you've got one of my favourite cymbals screwed on your door plaque, I noticed, which I'll talk to you about later.
Oh, I do apologise about that.
A vintage sold ones I thought were quite nice. But,
yeah.
Nobody wants them.
No, but John brought over some cymbals from China, and by golly, I can't believe the quality. It puts all the Europeans, I think, they need to up their game.
Well,
I can't believe it. I really can't.
You should go. You should be in Shanghai next October and see this booth, because the domestic market in China at the top end is no different to the top end market here and in the States and everywhere else. People have got expectations of how a product should be. This company makes cymbals for all the classical orchestras, which there's a lot more of in China than there is here, and they just look good. And I just thought I'll take some home and see if they're as good when I get them home. I was doing a panto and I didn't want to leave any of my heritage cymbals lying around, so I thought I'll put those on. It's low risk, and they're great.
I think even Gavin would be blown away by them.
When he's obviously got other fish to fry, but when he comes back, I'm going to take him down to see him and Matt, and we'll put the world to rights, I'm sure.
Gavin is Gavin Harrison. He's a local small-time drummer in the UK, I believe. And then Matt, is it Matt Green?
No, Matt Keenan.
Matt Keenan. He's an amazing, he's part of really in the community here.
He's been working very hard at that show in Germany last weekend.
Yeah, I mean...
with your friends from the German stick manufacturers.
Yes, and God bless them. So we'll bless everyone in Germany at the moment. And but that show, I don't know how he went. Did you talk to Matt?
Yeah, he sent a few pictures and he sent a report about who was exhibiting. you can imagine who was exhibiting. But
Yeah, everyone German.
couldn't possibly comment. Yeah.
I mean,
No, it looked a good event. And I suppose it's one of the splinter shows because ever since Music Messer crashed out of existence, people have been trying to fix shows.
I think Music Messer crashed out because everyone got drunk.
But it just got too expensive. In fact, on Saturday I'm flying out for the new show, Acoustica, in Nuremberg. So I'm looking forward to seeing, which is for brass and orchestral stuff.
Yeah, I remember Frankfurt. It was...
if you remember it, you were with the wrong people.
I remember some of it. I remember ending up in a VIP lounge all the time and Jojo Mayer showing us card tricks and also me getting the head of Meinl to pour all of us drinks. He was our waiter. And
That's an achievement.
I think I was... maybe that's why they hate me. But we never know. Well, I do apologise for that, but you did pour a good schnapps for all of us, Mr. Meinl. And Jojo was quite good at the tricks. I mean, I enjoyed his tricks. And I prefer his magic tricks than his drumming. I think he should incorporate them together. Then he could go to American's Talent and maybe win.
But and he could do, a tap dance in between, like all the great drummers used to be able to do.
Great drummers all knew how to tap dance. I actually tried to tap dance at home and learned tap dancing a little bit. I failed because we had parquet flooring.
Well, that wouldn't help.
And I was going,
You were getting told off for scratching the parquet.
Well, I had to revarnish it afterwards with a bit of beeswax, but I didn't really succeed in that tap. Steve Gadd's a great tap dancer.
Absolutely.
Who else Louis Belson, he tap dance. Buddy, Steve Gadd. Who else do we know that could tap dance?
That's a good question. A lot of the old Philly Joe, I think.
Yeah, Philly Joe. But anyone who's alive, can they tap dance still?
There's not a lot of demand for it.
I bet in America the drummers would tap dance on a show, or if they got a gun pointed at them.
Steve would tap dance, wouldn't he?
I think he's the only last one that's standing, isn't it?
Well, it's a bit of, as I say, it's a bit niche, but he's very good at it. I understand.
There's a
bit like playing cardboard boxes with brushes. It's a bit of a limited.
But there's good people that can play cardboard boxes now, and cajons and boxes and wood boxes.
Yes, that's true. His brush technique is pretty remarkable.
That's
a dying art, of course.
Brush technique.
Talking of dying arts, yes.
There's a lot of. I think there's a lot of dying art, and I think it's imperative for this community to keep them living and keep them out of brush techniques. Yeah, there's not many people that do brush techniques anymore. There's a guy actually, one of my friends, Gaz Hughes, is a real good brush player.
Okay.
I taught him all he knows. Well, no.
On that note.
But what other dying?
Well, I think sometimes, and I said it to a group of friends that were at the Jam on Sunday, people have forgotten about dynamics. You get up on a stage and you want to get your part across, I've got this flam triplet that I've just been working on for 6 months, so you need to get that in somewhere. And people don't listen anymore. But that's an old boy story, I know.
Everyone says that, but I think there's an element of...
not
truth.
At what level? Yeah, at the level I'm playing at.
I think there is a problem in the modern age that there's a lot more pride gone into it than musicality. And musicality is where... If you're doing any of this to be more well known and do it, but then you're just being a sportsman. If you want to be a musician, then I believe you're sacrificing your soul to get the music to create music, because there's not much. It's all just regurgitated stuff from the history now, isn't it?
Well, that's one view, and of course, everybody that hasn't got that sort of technique says this type of thing. So, play for the song and all of that.
Play for the song.
Yeah.
But I think it's true. I think less people are listening, and we need to educate people more. Look, if everyone listened more, then I'm sure as hell there'll be less crime and it'll be less of a bad world than we are today.
You're very profound today, Bence. I think that's probably enough. We'll have to phone Samaritans if you keep on like this.
On that note, I think we should call the Samaritans, but we could ramble on. But I really enjoyed, or we enjoyed having you here, John. And John is very much a friend of Rubix, and we look forward to seeing him more here. And he only lives up in High Wycombe. I won't say his address because then everyone will be popping in at your door. But do go to the Arts Club every Sunday. I might come down.
Not every Sunday. Sunday.
Sorry. But is it a lunchtime thing or an evening thing?
It's 4 till 7. So if you've got a gig, you can still get to the gig.
Well, I might bring my daughter down and my son down.
They both play. They would be more than welcome.
Well, they're 2 and 5, where they'll listen. They love music.
Well, I wouldn't suggest this was a pathway that you should take them.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take them to maths lessons instead.
Well, by all means, come along. It's good fun. There's some good people there, some good musicians, and some of them listen.
No. So what we take from this is listen, and then the world will be a better place. Thank you all, and see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.